It started with a smell, just a faint, rotten odor drifting through the hallway, but that was only the beginning. Within weeks, a family pet would be violently thrown across the room. Their children would be attacked, and the parents would claim they were physically assaulted by something they could not see. This is the horrifying true story of the Smurl family, who said they spent over a decade trapped inside a haunted house. Some people believe they were victims of one of the most aggressive demonic hauntings in history. Others say it was all a hoax. Today, you'll hear everything and you can decide for yourself. In the summer of 1973, Jack and Janet Smurl were like any other hardworking American couple. Jack was a Navy veteran. Janet worked hard to support her family. They had 2 young daughters and big dreams of owning a home where they could build their future. That August, they moved into a 2-story duplex on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. It wasn't perfect. The house needed some work, but it was affordable, and they figured over time they could make it their own. For the first few months, life seemed normal. But then little things started happening. At first it was sounds, loud banging noises that came from nowhere. Then there were smells, horrible, foul odors that would suddenly fill a room, then vanish just as quickly. The Smurls thought maybe it was plumbing or an animal in the walls. But the noises kept coming, and they were getting louder. And then the smells were joined by something else. Cold spots. Rooms that would drop to freezing temperatures in an instant, even in the middle of summer. Janet tried to ignore it. Jack worked long hours and thought maybe his wife was just stressed. But then the house started to fight back. One night, the family dog was suddenly lifted off the ground and hurled into a wall so hard it yelped in pain. On another occasion, Janet woke up in the middle of the night to the bed, shaking violently beneath her, as if someone had grabbed it and was trying to rip it apart. Their children weren't safe either. One of their daughters was shoved so hard, she tumbled down an entire flight of stairs. And then came the most disturbing claim of all. Jack and Janet said the entity began physically and sexually assaulting them. They were being terrorized in their own home, and it seemed to enjoy it. By 1986, more than a decade after this started, they were desperate. That's when they reached out to the most famous paranormal investigators in the world, Ed and Lorraine Warren. If those names sound familiar, they should. Ed and Lorraine Warren were the same couple behind the investigations that inspired the Conjuring movies. And when they showed up at the Smurl house, they claimed this was one of the most dangerous hauntings they had ever seen. Ed later said the entity in the Smurl home wasn't just a ghost, it was a demon. And it was very powerful. The Warrens tried everything. They brought in holy water, crucifixes, and Catholic prayers. They even played religious music throughout the house. But instead of leaving, the demon got angrier. Mirrors started shaking violently on the walls. Furniture moved on its own. Ed said at one point he felt the temperature in the room suddenly plummet, and out of the corner of his eye, he saw a dark, shadowy mass begin to form. Then came something that sent chills through the entire investigation team. Written across a bathroom mirror were 2 words, "Get out." Ed claimed they recorded strange sounds during the investigation, knocks, bangs, and rapping noises they couldn't explain. But as terrifying as that sounds, not everyone was convinced. The Smurls' story exploded in the media. Suddenly, TV crews and reporters were outside their home. But with all that attention came criticism. Paul Kurtz, a professor at the State University of New York and head of the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, dismissed the entire thing as a hoax, a charade, a ghost story. He said there was no physical evidence and suggested the family might be suffering from hallucinations or delusions. And then came something that made the skeptics even louder. Jack Smurl admitted that in 1983, he had brain surgery to remove water caused by an old case of meningitis. He had short-term memory problems before the surgery. Critics argued that this could explain why Jack believed the haunting was real. A psychologist, Robert Gordon, said something else. People often turn to demonology to explain the stress and tension they experience in their lives. The Catholic Church eventually got involved. The Diocese of Scranton sent priests to bless the home. According to their official reports, they saw nothing unusual during their visits. But Janet told a very different story. She claimed priests performed 3 exorcisms in the house, and all of them failed. She said the demon was clever, that it would move from one side of the duplex to the other, and sometimes even follow them when they left. One priest stayed in the house for 2 nights and reported absolutely nothing happened. But the Smurls insisted the activity was real and ongoing. In 1986, the Smurls told reporters they were tired of the media attention. But only months later, they co-wrote a book with Ed and Lorraine Warren called The Haunted. Critics tore it apart. One called it one-sided. Another said it was hard to believe given the total lack of evidence. Eventually, the family moved out of the house. A woman named Deborah Owens moved in after them. When reporters asked if she experienced anything unusual, she said no. Nothing. In 1991, the story became a made-for-TV movie called The Haunted, starring Jeffrey Dahmer and Sally Kirkland. And now, decades later, it's confirmed that the upcoming Conjuring film, Rites, will be based on the Smurl haunting. So, what do you think happened in that house? Was this one of the most terrifying hauntings in American history? Or was it a desperate family's cry for attention? The Catholic Church never confirmed anything. Skeptics say it was fake. But Ed and Lorraine Warren, 2 of the most respected paranormal investigators in history, swore it was real. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you think you could survive living in the Smurl house, hit that like button.